All right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Talking with Rusty Williams about his book, Doubt on Trial.
That's why I wrote the book. It's not to confront people. It's to try to meet people where they are. And it's a process. Remember, your process didn't happen overnight. And if it did, you probably would be an emotional wreck. I can tell you that when my wife deconstructed, we were living down in Florida and we used to take walks on the beach. And we were just having a discussion. And I didn't share a lot of what's in the book because she was raised Catholic, 12 years of Catholic school, by the way, in addition to the Catholicism that was taught.
The normal indoctrination.
So she really almost had like a breakdown on walking along the beach saying, well, what the hell is all this about then? Well, what do I even believe? Like, I don't even know anymore. Mine was kind of like, I learned it in an educational setting. She went through it differently. And when she went through and she asked questions and there was discussions, and I wasn't going to hold back. I wasn't going to lie to my wife, but man, it was like watching a wrecking ball hit a foundation of a skyscraper because it came down and it was painful. Remember, I'm still a minister. My doctorate is in ministry, and I purposely went ministry, not theology. I don't want to be a theologist. I didn't want it in divinity. I wanted to minister to people, to help people.
To you, what is the difference between what did it mean to go down the ministry route?
Ministry is more the hands-on. I'm not a scholar. I'm not some brainiac. Like, I barely got out of high school. It was a long and twisted road just to get. I wasn't ordained until 13 years ago. So I experienced life first. And I wanted to do something hands-on. I didn't want to be someone who's writing paper after paper or book after book, doing research about the theological side of this, or looking at it from the divinity side and then trying to have all the answers. It almost being like a philosophy major. As much as I find philosophy interesting, right, I don't think I would want to be a philosopher. So the ministry is hands-on. My wife and I started a ministry where I'm also a clinical hypnotist. We didn't charge. We offered hypnosis, and my wife's a Reiki master, to people who were hurting. And I felt that was, if you want to call it a calling, that it was to help people. Like, I was a cop, and before that I was a paramedic. So it's always been trying to get people that are hurting and whatever relief I can give them. To go back to your original point, to do that 2x4 therapy to someone, I know it doesn't work. Right. I know that a fundamentalist, an evangelical, a Pentecostal is not going to read my book. And if they do, well, I've already gotten semi-death threats when I did a Facebook ad for my book when it first came out.
The godly type messages.
Exactly. So I was a bomb dog handler when I was a cop. So we didn't use there was really nothing negative because you didn't want to shut a dog down. Let the dog come to realize it on his own or her own, and it'll sink in better, and then it becomes more enjoyable for them. I think we could learn a lot from our canine populations. And if you're a dog trainer, Boomer was the best partner I ever had, and I loved him better than, so I'm preaching.
Yeah, it took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I've got my little Morty back there.
I saw that. But my point is, when the dog learns the desired behavior themselves, it becomes more important. It becomes intrinsic. But the intrinsic part of him wanting to make me happy because that's what he wanted to do, that gave him more of a thrill than playing tug of war with the towel for a couple minutes. So I think with people, meet them where they are. And as a minister, being this agnostic type helps. And so to meet people again where they are and to be open to all beliefs without thinking that my belief is the ultimate one. And then if they want to come along for the journey, I'll help guide them. Hey, here's a couple books, try this. So that's my approach. I have a mobility assistance dog. Watching the way he was trained down in Florida was completely different than watching the way a police canine dog is trained. And neither one's wrong, but I'm not going to think because this is the way my training works, every dog trainer is going to be the same. My skill set isn't confronting people like that. Mine is more, as a detective, I got more confessions, not by slamming a book down and saying, what did you do? Where were you? I'm tired of this. It was, we sat and talked for a while until I got them to want to tell me why they did what they did.
A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. That one's from Dr. Lutch there. Thanks, Dad. My mom is very religious. It wouldn't be fruitful for her and I to even open the conversation. It's just, we're starting from too far apart. It's just a non-starter. But my dad and I have, over the past 5-7 years, built up a much better relationship. Up until this current period, we didn't really have an open dialogue about much of anything. But as that relationship developed, at first the religious argument, it was not, or not even argument, discussion was off the table. But just over time, we've learned to respect each other's boundaries more and get into it knowing that we both want to understand each other better. Are you familiar with, there's a YouTube call-in show called The Atheist Experience?
No.
It's just a call-in show, and it would be just like this. And somebody, they go live on Sundays, and they just call in, and the premise is, what do you believe and why? And so someone will call in and they'll say what they believe in. And usually the question is why and how do you know that? And a lot of it boils down to, well, it's just what I believe, which has helped me personally get to the point where I can accept that you are saying you don't have hard evidence. And in spite of that, you decide to believe. That makes sense to me more than thinking that the text of the Bible is that evidence. And you are right because of that. So I bring up the show because it was pivotal, I think, in changing the way I had these conversations with my dad. I made a playlist on YouTube with just a bunch of different poignant calls. And so because they weren't, and his personal beliefs, it was much easier for me to dissect the argument itself
Because you
rather
attacking
than
him.
right. Even deciding that you want to have this conversation, again, you need to find the way in which to do it. And as you alluded to with the dog stuff, again, that's right up my alley because it's amazing how much every day there's so much I see in the process of training with each unique dog, unique people, and it's a microcosm of not only religion but politics. And you talked about what the dog wants to do. And a lot of times, you go in and it's people who maybe never had a dog before. By the time I get there, it's like, it's the dog's world and you're just living in it. And they think they can dictate the terms of all the interactions. So all we've got to do is show the dog that if you choose to follow me and listen to me, it will be better for you. You definitely see on a very simplistic scale how beliefs about the world change behavior when you're talking with dogs. And you don't have to get into these yelling matches or, all of that stuff because they already know their place. When you do it correctly, you can see how well it flows. And in the same way.
And it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable for the dog. It's enjoyable for the owner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think people are the same way. You can just talk about things in different ways. And I think, especially for, someone like me, and then clearly for someone in your position as well, navigating that while having, at least for me, very strong opinions has been very difficult. Maybe the small piece where you and I would disagree is, again, going back to how people feel about their own beliefs. At what cost do we let people just believe whatever they want to believe?